Okay.
Hello, greetings and salutations this morning, beautiful morning. And I'm here with my friend Guillermo and Tony, who's behind the camera. And we're going to be talking today in a couple of minutes about Perfectionism 2. We did a video on it last week, and we had some more we want to share with you. So, would you like to talk a little bit about
voting?
Yeah, I think they're voting right now.
This starts today. The early voting starts today until the 1st of November, I believe. And then on the 3rd is the election day.
Okay.
So the idea is for everybody to vote. Just vote. I mean, it's your responsibility, no matter what candidate you might choose, for whatever principles you might believe in, just vote. It's the right thing to do, and it makes you feel that you're participating in what a democracy is all about.
A democracy.
What do you think?
Not the Democrats, the democracy.
Well, Democrats,
Make sure you have
no.
the right word.
We're not going to get into politics, because I already played the part of the
Yeah,
Democrat,
yeah.
and I was not too convinced about that.
And I'm worried that you'd see the video and you'd have a stroke right
Yes,
there.
yes. I skipped that video.
Do you think either of the candidates are perfect and have all the truth?
Well, nobody's perfect.
No.
Think about it. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
No.
I mean, we all make mistakes, and we just have to deal with them.
But aren't we judgmental of people who service in restaurants, of politicians? We have these overall feelings about them that they're crooked or whatever. Really, it's a bell curve. It really is. It's a bell curve. Most people are just absolutely wonderful, would do a lot for you. And then you have some people who wouldn't do anything for you.
Right. So
And some people that would take too good a care of you. And you couldn't care for yourself.
That's true.
Okay, so I want to mention the virus. Would you put your mask on so how cute you look?
I came this morning with my mask on, even though we are really more than 6 feet apart.
That's true.
But this is the mask I use to go out to restaurants, to CVS, in Publix, around my office in the common areas when I'm not in my office. So I got used to it. I don't like it, but I got used to it.
Even though you don't have a chance much of getting it because you already had
I already
it.
got it.
He had COVID for 2 weeks, and he had a fairly
Mild
good
case,
It
thank
was
God.
mild, but you had symptoms.
Yes.
So you're probably immune right now for at least 4 months. So your chances of getting it or giving it, because it's been a while, would be almost nil, and yet you're wearing your mask.
Yes.
And I just want to mention that. Okay, no one liked buckling up. Remember the seatbelt law when they came out with that? But it's a law, and if you get picked up, you're going to pay a fine.
It's like putting your kids in a car seat.
Yeah.
Before, many years ago, we didn't have to. Then the law came out with the car seats where everybody has to do it depending on the age of the kid. It's
Even
your
their
protection.
dogs. A lot of people put their dogs in car seats. So no matter how you think or feel, the virus does neither. It doesn't think and it doesn't feel. It doesn't wear a mask. It doesn't care what religion you are, what your politics are. It doesn't care what your health coefficient is. Every day they have on one or two of the channels, people have died at different ages and all the way down to in their 30s. It has gotten hungrier here in our neck of the woods. And it's not about numbers. You don't have to believe the numbers. You just don't want to be one of the numbers.
Right.
If you think there are only 12 people in the United States that died from it, please don't be number 13. The whole problem here is it's like being on a plane. You put the mask on yourself first, and then you put it on everyone else. And I want to mention, if you happen to be of the persuasion that God calls you home when He's ready for you, let God do it. Wait for God. Don't let the virus take you.
Yep,
Okay.
that's for sure.
All right, so Perfectionism Part 2. Last video, we did Part 1. And we read about my favorite author, really, James Kavanaugh, who wrote a little book called Will You Be My Friend? And the poem inside there, the best poem for me is Will You Be My Friend? Talks about how imperfect I am, but I still want you so to be my friend.
That was a nice poem, though.
An excellent poem. Just like you're not perfect, and I still want you to be my friend.
Well, I'm as close as you can get.
This is true. Nobody else is getting within 6 feet in here. Everybody else is staying 8 feet. No matter how far I have the
Right.
chairs, I notice people move them back. Okay, so challenging our negative self-talk and our negative judgments. And I mentioned last time that self-righteousness is also a judgment. And if you're always so righteous and you have all the answers, nobody will want to be around you. So we talked about the definition of perfection and what causes it. Can you do
Perfectionism.
a short review here?
Sure. Perfectionism is a trait that makes life an endless report card on accomplishments or looks. When healthy, it can be a self-motivating and drive so you to overcome adversity and achieve success. When unhealthy, it can be a fast and enduring track to unhappiness. What makes extreme perfectionism so toxic is that while those in its grip desire success, they are most focused on avoiding failure, resulting in a negative orientation. They don't believe in unconditional love, expecting others' affection and approval to be dependent on a flawless performance.
So, there are people who are perfect inside themselves. There are people who expect perfection out of someone else and not from themselves. There are some people who expect perfection from themselves and others. But the hardest people to deal with are people who expect you to be perfect, to read their minds and never make a mistake. That's different than you being perfect. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They want perfection coming from you.
So what causes perfectionism?
Uh, Mostly by internal constructs coming from childhood usually. And what it does, there's a pressure to avoid failure. So if we don't do anything, we don't fail.
You know, fair.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm a clutterer, and I have clutter. Not me, I'm a minimalist. You can tell by looking around the room. Hardly have anything here. People who want to clean then, if you're a clutter person, you want to start in your OCD or you're perfectionistic, you want to start inside a drawer, inside a closet. You never get to the rest.
Because you spend so much time doing just that.
You want just the most perfect. And that drawer, then the next time you do it, you'll do it again. So it's a real problem. Do you want to read the poem for me, the Psalm of Life?
The Psalm of Life.
That's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Remember, we did one poem about the arrow in the song.
Is what the heart of the young man said to the psalmist.
Yeah.
Tell me not, in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Thus thou art, do thus run a rest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow, it is our destiny and or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, thought stout and brave, still like muffled drums, are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Acting living present, heart within and God's early head. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our life sublime, and departing, life left behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, or for long and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
I just love that poem. I think it says a lot, not about living in yesterday or living in tomorrow. It's not about not grieving someone. It's about giving up your own life and not living your life in full. But if you can leave footprints, in other words, if you can leave things to help someone else along the way. I think if you are in a situation where, let's say you're divorced, your children are grown, you have an empty nest, that doesn't mean you still can't reach out to other people, that you can't still write, that you can't belong to a talk show, a group, or to be able to do something constructive for one of the religious organizations, or for voting. You could go and volunteer to work at the polls.
Well, one question that I have.
Okay?
How are perfectionism and procrastination linked?
Okay, you wouldn't think they'd be linked, but they are linked. I always tell the young people that I see that are going to college, don't miss a class. If they're very perfectionistic, if they miss one class and they get behind, they'll miss 2 classes and pretty soon they won't want to go at all. So procrastination becomes a part of their repertoire if they don't do what they need to do. I usually suggest try and get it out of the way. Get your project out of the way. So then you have only your midterm and your final to worry about. Procrastination feeds on putting things off. You worry about it. If I have something I don't like to do, I put it out where I can see it. The minute you hide it, you're not going to get to it. Is that not true?
That's very true.
Okay. And being able to talk to yourself. So you get guilty over the procrastination, and that makes you even less likely to want to do it. And by the way, people who are procrastinators, they can tell you exactly how long it's going to take for them to do something. That's why they don't want to start it.
Because they don't want you to know
They
how
know.
long.
They know that they're not going to be able to just go through it quickly. So there's an inner voice that's very angry that they're not starting something. So they've got to deal with these inner voices of their own. I need to start this. I need to start this. Now, I usually try to cook something in my brain. I usually try to come up with my ideas, and then I go to my paper. But sometimes I will have a little notebook, and I'll just brainstorm ideas. So by the time I sit down, I have a lot of ideas, maybe an outline even.
Is that why perfectionist people take longer to do anything?
Oh yeah, they do. Absolutely, they take longer. And what it is they have to check things 3 or 4 times. Often they'll miss questions on a test because they've read into it, not because they don't know the material.
How many times a perfectionist tries to lock a door and it goes back and forth trying to see if they locked it again?
Believe me, that's, okay, we're going to talk about that. That's OCD. It's obsessive compulsive.
They don't.
They're compulsive to get up and check that door.
Yep.
Do you do that?
All the time.
Do you?
I want to make sure the door is locked.
Do you want an appointment?
Yes.
Oh, never mind.
I'm here today.
Yeah, I know. I usually don't take hopeless. Okay.
What types of perfectionism?
Well, again, they're self-orientated. I'm perfectionistic about myself. So I have a file cabinet over here. All my files are what I'd like to do. Perfect, perfect, perfect. But over here are my actual files. They don't match this. I can cause myself a lot of grief, upset. Even if I get things done ahead, I can still. I have, at different times, remember I'll write something, I'll do something way ahead. Now I've read it and it's close to the time, I'll redo it. So I have to watch that I don't give myself too much time that I'm going to redo the whole thing. All of a sudden I have a better idea.
Okay, what's the difference between being a perfectionist and obsessive compulsive?
Okay, an obsessive, someone who's obsessive usually has intrusive thoughts. They can't stop. They can't change sets. So they're looking at the chair and they're thinking, I really need to reupholster that. I really need to reupholster that. But I know I don't have the money. I really need to reupholster that. I might actually put it on a credit card because I can't stand my thought that I can't get rid of. In other words, they can obsess with a particular thought. And also repetitive behaviors, like you said, locking the door. It's not a Jack Nicholson kind of thing.
No.
And by the way, people who are real OCD, and I'm one of them, I've learned how to manage it. We get a lot done, but we make other people feel terrible. They always say to you, I can't believe, whenever I don't want to do something, I think about how much you do. You know, I don't want to hear that. Because that comes at a price. That comes at a price. We all need to have balance, and I've worked really hard on my life to be OCD, so that I can just get everything done. I'm sure when I was little, if I would have been in a playpen, and there was a wet diaper, I would have said my brother did it or my sister did it. I know me. So, perfectionism. It's a disposition to regard short of perfection or as unacceptable. Anything short of perfection, I'm not going to do, I'm not going to turn it in. Especially, the setting of unrealistically demanding goals. We'll set goals that we couldn't possibly reach. And if we don't achieve them, You know, I have people who write these lists in the morning. I don't write do you write a list of what you're gonna get done? I don't either. As OCD as I am at times, or perfectionistic, I don't make a list.
I don't have to come here, apart from this, and try to figure out if I'm OCD or not.
You know you are, to a degree. Okay, I'm not diagnosing today.
Good.
OCD,
I'm not ready
OCD,
for that.
OCD, OCD. Okay, what about the moral character? Have you heard about people who think they have to be perfect here in order to be able to advance after they've died?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them.
No?
Nope.
Well, I don't want to be promoted yet either.
No, not too quickly.
Not too quickly.
Okay. That doctrine of having a state of freedom from sin, I think it's a great idea to do the best you can. But I think if you're too perfectionistic, you're also usually judgmental of other people. And by the way, you want to quote scripture when they're in bereavement. Well, in actuality, if you're quoting to them and they're one of your friends, they're probably at the same church and probably know just as much as you do. But when you're hurting, it takes time to be able to go back to your faith sometimes. It takes a little bit of work to get there. It's in the background helping you, and prayer certainly will help you, but you still need the time. And showing someone a scripture might be a little premature. You might be better off taking them to lunch. And don't forget to wear your mask.
What about being a perfectionist? What does it feed?
Oh, it feeds your anxiety, it feeds depression, it feeds negative feelings, other health issues. You can always be unhappy because you're never good enough for yourself. That isn't good. How can you enhance mental flexibility? How can you enhance? How do you help yourself to feel good about yourself?
Develop self-awareness?
Yeah.
Feeling confidence, maybe?
Yeah. Self-esteem, self-confidence. Trying to look at yourself, reflect on yourself. What's making me feel guilty or bad? You know, nobody likes negative statements. Nobody wants to hear somebody saying to them something negative. It can hurt my feelings when someone says something. But I have to own, sometimes I need to look at that. Maybe there's some truth in it.
How about setting yourself some realistic standards so you can accomplish them?
A good idea. Maybe baby steps and not quantum leaps.
Right. Something
Yeah.
that you can accomplish in a lesser time because you can do it quickly,
Mhm.
rather than something that is prolonged and difficult.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. Also, we can get sometimes bored with people who keep telling us the same old thing, the same old thing. I think we need to remember, if they're telling us the same old thing, it's because they need to tell us.
How about
Just
multitasking? Can perfectionists multitask?
Can who? Professionals?
Perfectionism? Like a perfectionist?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, they can. But what happens then is if they don't get everything done, they now have everything open. What I usually tell people who are real perfectionistic, or either that or very OCD, by the way, you can be obsessive compulsive and not perfectionistic. Those two things often go together, but not always. But my advice is, take the hardest subject first and get it out of the way. As you begin to get tired, your perfectionism will stand in the way even more. And you're wanting to procrastinate and put it off more. Get the hardest subject out of the way.
A lot of people, like I can be reading this sometimes, and I can be also multitasking or thinking about doing something else. Is that common on a perfectionism?
Oh, I think that is probably, you're right on. Yeah, and we're able to do that. We're able to put on other sets. Also, I want to listen to music, have the TV on, have a lot of noise when I do something. I remember when I had a final exam going to a tractor pull. If you've ever been to one of those, the noise is unbelievable. It didn't bother me at all. I'm never distracted. You can't distract me. Well, other people have to have total silence.
Silent. And they get very, very disturbed if somebody talks when they're doing something.
Absolutely. And that doesn't bother me at all. So we're all different. We have what we call different styles, and being respectful of someone else's style. I want to mention this, just good enough. I have tried to work on this. I don't know where I got it. I see it now sometimes in the literature. But I have used this for my whole life. Just good enough. Right in here. I do what I can for what the task is at hand. I put in all I can. I do my best. However, I'm not trying to do perfect. Over here is too perfect. Too good enough. It's good enough plus. What you do sometimes is take away other people's responsibilities. Also, you drive yourself nuts that you can't stay over here. And not good enough means I'm not approaching things with effort. We have to remind our kids, never put all the pictures on the refrigerator. Put the good ones.
Pretty cool.
We don't want to teach the kids that they can draw anything and that we love it. What will happen? They won't work harder. That makes sense?
Interesting. How about the new thing of sports, for example? It used to be that when you play sports and you were in a team, the first place got its medal, the second place got its medal. Now, there are certain clubs that wants to give medals to everybody that participated, whether they finished first or last.
I like that because I'm not good in sports.
Well,
see, I'd walk home with a medal no matter what.
She's not answering my question.
I bring cookies. I take cookies to the meet. If I take cookies to the meet, I'm sure to get a medal for cookies. Okay. Yes, you know what that reminds me of? Like a birthday party. Giving the child who has the birthday something, and then giving everybody else equal.
Yeah. So what
do we teach?
Exactly. And what are you celebrating?
Yeah, actually, no one's any special day has a special day.
So success to the team that won doesn't mean the same as the last team that came in.
No.
Because everybody gets rewarded.
No.
I don't know. I just thought.
No, you're right. I think that's a very good point. Because we need to teach that it's okay and to enjoy someone else's success.
Right.
Have you gotten any medals this week? Never mind. Asking for help. Throw in the towel when
I'm not coming next week, Tony.
He'll be here. Need a balanced life. That's hard.
Balance.
A balanced
I think that
life.
is the key.
Yeah, I do too. To be able to do things and to have friends and if you don't have friends, make one friend. Make one friend. See if you can't make one friend. What can contribute to perfectionism? I think I mentioned the anxiety, insecurity, fear of disappointment, all that. How do you stay on track? How do you stay on track?
Just good enough.
Yes.
Just good enough. If I learn something today, I'm going to go to my office and be just good enough.
Right in here. And why don't you send out a memo to all of them?
I am going to put a memo to my 700 employees.
Yes.
Just good enough.
You don't have to excel. No, that isn't what that means. This is a personal thing. It is not something you want to sit at the dinner table and tell the children. You just have to be good enough. Each one of them will decide what that is. All right?
Okay, here's my problem with perfectionism.
Okay.
I believe perfectionism people procrastinate more than if you were not a perfectionist.
I think they don't show up for work because they're worried that they can't give you a perfect employment day. Yeah, I agree with you. It can affect a lot of things. It's not just one thing, it can affect a lot of things. We have to get to the root cause of that. What's bothering us? Why are we feeling that way? Sometimes we need to tell somebody. Let's say we've had a loss and we don't want to share it. We need to tell an employer or whatever, someone just died and, I don't really I need a couple of days off. You've come back and you say, you're expecting everybody now to give you another month off. No, that doesn't happen. You have a job to do. But to be able to say, I might not be quite myself today, but I want to be here. That's a lot. That's a lot to say that.
And what about if a person is a perfectionist and an OCD at the same time?
Right, you've got double whammy. Yeah, those folks who just are inside themselves that way and don't share it, and pretty much are very task oriented. Not so bad, but I have found most of the time they're very judgmental, very OCD to what I call the 10th power. If that happens to hit, you have to work really hard on yourself not to take other people on. You can be very irritable, very anxious, and very critical. A critical spirit is a very hard spirit to live with. Someone who's critical. I want someone to always understand that when I almost fall on the floor and I have shattered glass all over, they don't say, "How clumsy are you?" they go and get a broom, right, Tony, and they pick it up. Thank you, Tony, for cleaning up my bathroom. Thank you for tuning in on us today.
Very good.
Did you guys have fun drawing pictures of your friends? Yes. That was good. Now, when you have a best friend, it's always good to remember having patience. Even if you don't like the same things or you don't always agree, it's okay to still be best friends. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes? How about you, Tito?
You agree, teacher?
Yeah.
Alright, great.